thing about Juan Gold. He's not a troll. He's a well thought out, and most of his responses are well thought out.
Well, that's the way Marc used to feel about me. But this isn't going to be about me. This is about a dear friend of mine, Misty, who is a wonderful, beautiful, brainy woman. And evidently, uh, Misty made some comments that on one of Marc's videos that kind of sort of sent him into a tizzy. One could actually say he was triggered. Yeah, Misty triggered Stevens. In her comments, she made clear, understandable points that apparently shook Stevens up. It seems he must have feared people would see how stupid his quote unquote legal tactics are, and he rushed to get out his video, his 30-minute video, he thinks is a rebuttal. But only 4 minutes of it is dedicated to addressing Misty's points. The rest of it is his standard litany of his default rants. Now, this are the points that Misty made in her comments. Very clear, concise. Number one, that judges and prosecutors must follow the traffic laws as they are written, which is evidence, Stevens' beliefs notwithstanding. Two, political questions are determined by the political question doctrine and are non-justiciable. Three, the Supreme Court has ruled that traffic laws apply to everyone using the public roads within the state's territory as a valid exercise of police power. And existing case law is evidence. Now, this police power is the power of the states to regulate behavior and enforce order within their territory for the betterment of the health, safety, and general welfare of their inhabitants. It comes from the 10th Amendment. Now, number four, rejecting the law and court rulings as evidence, as Stevens does, as a defense, takes the defense argument of applicability out of the legal system and into the political system, which again is non-justiciable. Number five, therefore, Misty offers that to be successful in challenging whether the traffic laws apply to you, you must have to prove that the traffic law being challenged exceeds the state's police power and therefore would not apply. Now, most of Stevens' rebuttal, I'll use that loosely, is just his rants about rules and other things, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, this is kind of an overview of the political question doctrine. Now, you can Google political question doctrine and come up with the sources that I'm quoting from here. They're legal sources, they're dictionaries, they're legal authorities. But it's a doctrine which prevents a court of law from determining issues which are essentially political. In other words, within the purview of the executive branch of government. And this doctrine refers to the idea that an issue is so politically charged that federal courts or even states have adopted it, which are typically viewed as the apolitical branch of government, should not hear the case. This doctrine is also referred to as the justiciability doctrine or the non-justiciability doctrine. Now, a doctrine under which a court will refrain from adjudicating a question that is more properly resolved by the other branches of government because of its inherently political nature and not because of lack of jurisdiction. This means that the branch of government that is elected. Now, an example of this is a traffic law in a state I used to live in that required safety inspections of vehicles. Now, courts adjudicated a challenge to this law as government overreach, but it was found that it was a proper exercise of police power. But they could not hear the issue of unpopularity because this law was very unpopular with the people, and that's for the ballot box. And the law being unpopular with the people, the political body, the legislature, was pressured into repealing it because they have to be elected and they respond to the wishes of the people. And in American constitutional law, the political question doctrine is closely linked to the concept of justiciability, as it comes down to a question of whether or not the court system is an appropriate forum in which to hear the question or the issue or the case.
But one of the things you have to keep in mind when we're talking about whether what is being done in the courts and government in general, you can't use the standards and principles and rules of the actual organization that you're critiquing. Any honest criticism of government, you cannot just use their principles and their rules as a yardstick or to determine if it's a legitimate organization and what they are doing is fair.
Now, you see what Stevens is talking about is political issues. First, he tells people you can't use the rules of the organization. So you go into court to fight a traffic ticket, and Stevens is telling you you can't use the rules? That doesn't make any sense. And it also puts his victims in kind of a precarious situation. What Stevens is talking about is challenging the institution of the organization, and that is somewhat of a political issue. Now, you don't believe me? Let's hear from Stevens' own mouth.
So we're not just going in and challenging the ticket, we're challenging the concept of government itself.
Did you hear him? Challenging the concept of government itself. Now, if that's not a friggin' political issue, I don't know what the hell is. So he actually believes he is not raising political issue with his questions and rejections of law as evidence. However, he is inconsistent. Maybe it's ADHD. Maybe he's a drunkard. I don't know. But if you don't use the appropriate laws and you're challenging the concept of government itself, well, that's political.
She states that right here you can see that presenting a new spin on philosophy, I am not. That's not the, see, and she accuses me of cherry picking. She deliberately left out what I actually said. So if you listen to the show, I said she's putting a new spin on Galt's philosophy argument, not.
Oh, gee, Stevens. There you go. You're focusing on form and the style of writing and not the substance of what Misty is saying. She was responding to your allegation that she was putting a new spin on my philosophy argument. That's the context in which she wrote that sentence. You know it, I know it, she knows it. Everybody that watched the video knows it, but instead, you're focusing in on one little thing, on the style, and totally ignoring the substance of what she was saying. Now, I don't know whether you have a chemical imbalance or ADHD, OCD, or whatever. I don't know, but you do that a lot, and you focus in on words in court cases and totally miss the substance of what they're looking at. You do that especially with the Luria case on citizenship, but I digress. You do it a lot. Let's continue.
That she was putting a new spin on philosophy. The unsourced quote is about a challenge to political police power. So that's what you can see up here. The state's political police power. Traffic laws have been determined to be a valid exercise of states' political police power for over 100 years since Maryland versus Hendrick, 1915. Not actually what the court says. The court doesn't even use the word political in the opinion.
And there you go again, focusing on one particular word and ignoring the substance of what's being said. I mean, you know, if I was as picayune as you, I would do the same thing to you, because you said it's a valid exercise, meaning what you should have said was exercise. But I knew what you meant. I knew what you were meaning. But not you and your chemical imbalance. You focus in on one word, political, and make a big deal out of it. Misty was simply making a distinction between the state's police power and what the average person on the street considers police power. That being the police department in their town and the policemen cruising around that they see in their city. She was doing that for the sake of the reader so they would know what she was talking about, but not you. You focus in on that one word and you think it's nefarious, or she's trying to get something over on you, and it's just you. It's all you concentrating so hard on one word that you missed the meaning of the substance of what was being written. Oh man, it's just pitiful.
They talk about the police power. They talk that it can be challenged, but they never say that. They don't even use the word political in there. Challenges to. So, again, I never made the claim that they were presenting a new spin on philosophy. I pointed out the argument is the same argument in form. They're saying that when I asked for evidence of their claim, it converts their claim into a political question, or it becomes a political question, and because it's a political question, the court can't hear it. It's exactly the same form of Galt's argument. Look, Mark, you're not accepting the evidence. That means you're going beyond what the court can hear, and it's philosophy or it's a political question. In fact, making a philosophical claim, then it doesn't become one when it's challenged. And it doesn't become if they're not making a political claim that the laws apply to me, then it doesn't magically become political and outside the purview of the court if I challenge it.
Well, you got a part of it right. You said it correctly in there, but you seem to be saying that the government's claim, their allegations, are legal and not political. Well, you're right. But you seem to think that Misty is saying that the government's claim changes to a political one. No. What she is saying is it is your defense that changes. When Stevens rejects the government's evidence as not proving that the laws apply to him, he is, as he has said, challenged the concept of government itself, the legitimacy of government to apply their laws to him. That's a friggin' political issue, damn it. I have just gone further than Misty and said that the challenge is based on your political philosophy of anarchy. Stevens' lack of comprehension is amazing. It's only eclipsed by his followers as evidenced by their dumbass comments reacting to this video of his attacking Misty, in my opinion. There you have it. 4 minutes out of 30 as a pseudo rebuttal to Misty. The rest of it is Stevens ranting and obfuscating issues regarding the government, cross-examination of the cop, Rule 602, due process, the rigged legal system, and disparaging remarks about Misty's and my knowledge and character. Now, I'm providing a link to the full video in the description below. I have to watch it at 1.5 times speed so as not to cause a drop in my IQ. and I suggest you do the same if possible. Enjoy, and please subscribe. Feel free to leave intelligent comments or questions.
Go home.